go ahead and talk about why you're doing what you want to talk about.
I can't hear in the back. You need the microphone.
Do I have one here?
I don't know, I got a pretty good voice.
These guys don't.
Can we get some dues on the hangers in the back?
Well, the questionnaires
Go ahead and
do.
turn it over to him. And you'll get some questions in too, so go ahead.
Hey, great. I say get on the ground enough to really practice. Well, thank you guys very much for having me this evening. I know it's been a long, hot summer, and you guys have been working hard all day, and to listen to a guy come in and talk to you sometimes probably gets old. You're going to notice right away that I'm not a politician, guys. I did put on a fresh shirt and a tie tonight because I want to make sure I make a good first impression. But the bottom line is I've been in law enforcement for over 21 years, all with Minneapolis. I've worked almost every single precinct and most investigative units. Did the SWAT thing. Biggest thing I liked the most was mounted control. So you've probably seen me up and down Hickman Avenue on the big black horse with the white star named Duke. We had a deal. He carried me half the shift and I carried him the other half the shift. So we got through about 10 summers before they retired and I left the unit. I'm currently the Deputy Chief of Patrol for the Minneapolis Police Department, which simply means that I have oversight of all 5 precincts in our Special Operations Division. So I got a lot of hands-on experience with a lot of the things that you guys are dealing with every single day. I'm going to put right out front that my instincts on why I'm running are absolutely right in this particular instance because morale is low. I feel it. And who wants to come to work every day if the conditions aren't the way it should be? What if you're not getting the time off to watch your kids play softball, which I heard in several different instances? Your schedules are all over the place. You have no predictability. That, in my mind, tells me that there's some absentee leadership going on and everything's just kind of flowing the way it should. Now, you guys are the subject matter experts in what you do, okay? And where I take a lot of my models of leadership from is I've also been in the Minnesota National Guard for 25 years. I currently hold the rank of colonel, and I've been deployed twice. The last was to Iraq with the CAF Squadron out of Duluth as its commander. So I understand what it feels like to be out on an island, doing the best you can, and then you still have some individuals that may or may not want to take your best interest at heart. That's why I'm running. A lot of the questions have been as well, you came out late. Well, I, again, owed my employees, which was nearly 800 patrol officers in all 5 precincts, my very best effort when it came to planning for All-Star, the hot summer, the north side's heating up. We had all these different factors that I needed to check the box on. Then I went off to a military school, which you'd never heard of it. It's the United States Army War College, and it's a pretty good honor when somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, go do this. And once you announce, it's on. And I'm finding that out right now. It's 12 to 16-hour days. This is the largest county in the state, as you know, because you have to patrol it. And I'm from one end of it to the other, all day long, just making sure that people know the plight that you have. Because frankly, what the people are telling me is you guys love it. You know, and you tell me if I'm wrong. But what the general public is saying is that everything's great, no problems within the department, and everything's hunky-dory with the status quo as it stands right now. Well, that kind of got shattered 10 days ago when the Sheriff's Deputy Association stepped up to the tune of 87.5% of the 200 folks that voted said, no, we want to change. And that's not always, I don't have an ego where I says, oh, that's because Ed Frizell is the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's not the case. That was the simple fact of either no confidence in the leadership as it stands, or they want to change. And again, I heard the stories of schedules getting changed, or I've experienced the long waits out here outside of the jails where you're going, hey, what's going on in there? You know, what's happening? You know, and then we take the baddest of the bad off the street, we turn them over to you guys. And I know the dispatchers hear us because they hear the tremble in our voice, or they hear the shots fired, they hear all these things. But these people, once we get them cuffed and turn them over to you, you now have to deal with the worst of the worst. That can't be easy. So, what's one of the first things I do? I have to be looking at employee morale and engagement. Talking to you guys Not just to ask for your endorsement, but you again being the subject matter expert. What can I do to help you? As sheriff, I work for you. And we all work for the community and the people that elected us in. That was the quickest lesson I learned very quickly. It's not an appointed position that, you know, you have certain expectations about the person that's appointed. This is the elected position where the people are saying, we want this. And you working for the people, they're saying, we want to be led this way. And they all work hand in hand, guys. And I don't think there's anybody in this room that says that they wouldn't like to at least be happy and love what you've done from day one, which is put your uniform on or put your headset on or do whatever you have to do and rock it and feel good about what you're doing without someone else interfering with that professionalism that you guys like to bring to the job. First thing on the list, and no one again could argue with this, public safety. Right? That's what we're all here for. And as a part of that, that's safety of each and every one of us. Because when it all boils down, you're not working for me. You're not working for the county, you're working for each other. Who's watching your back? Who's paying attention so we all get to go home at night? Because it's a different culture for those out there on the road or even over the jails. You're strapping on this, you're strapping on that, and you're walking around in it all day for your safety for each and every one of you. We have to make sure that you have the training, you have the education that goes along with that training, and the equipment to do your job and do it properly. Fiscal responsibility. You're going to tell me that administrative costs have jumped over from what, 6.2 million to 11.8? That's a 70% jump in administrative costs. I haven't seen that type of rise in 5 precincts in 5 different parts of the city. So what's happening in the front office over there? You know, I've heard it's cost of living raises, so you guys see it?
12,000 in 6 years.
Okay. Well, the deputies, and I've been, you know, what came out there, is saying that, well, the only reason they're mad at the current administration is because they didn't like the one item that was disagreed upon, which is pay. I'm telling you right now, talking with them, and pay didn't come up once. Benefits didn't come up once. So yeah, that's a concern. But when you're talking about everything else but that in my profession and your profession is called a clue. And so how do you fix that? Is to make sure that you're properly putting those financial resources in the places that they need to be. And that's with you guys. Again, right equipment, right training, everything apportioned where it needs to be. How is it that we're now, warrants for instance, I don't know how many of you guys remember Steve Anderson, Lieutenant Anderson, but he would find, me and my old partner down in the 330 district back in the early 90s when it was the Murdiapolis type of deal, and he'd be out there with this stack of warrants. He goes, you guys busy? Hey, let's go. We can wake up some bad guys in the middle of the morning. Hey, that was, but I'm hearing right now that that's no longer occurring. Onesies, twosies, because everybody's been, you know, decentralized and moved out and all these different things. But one thing I can tell you about my experience in law enforcement, everybody finds their niche. Whatever it may be. It might be horses, it might be detective work, it might be forensics, it might be on the water, wherever. But that's up to you to decide. That's what makes this a great career. But if that's no longer an option, and you just kind of place where you place, and you're going to do what you want to do, I don't see that as being beneficial to anyone. So, third thing is we want to look at hiring and how that looks for you guys. The understanding is a lot of licensed officers are working in the jail. Okay? So, is that a necessity? I don't know. Should they be out on the street doing what they do? And then maybe use detention deputy for those that love it, make sure that they have a fruitful career to move up the ranks, you know, if they choose to do so. Or we bring in some young folks too to learn the law enforcement profession from the inside out. And I think that's about the best training ground you're going to get for dealing with people and dealing with those that have different ways of thinking, and we deal with them out on the street. But you got to always grow your organization. If you don't do that, then it becomes stagnant. And then again, that goes right back to your morale. And a stagnant organization doesn't win championships, let alone a game. And And we've all seen it. It takes a fresh turnover. It takes a new sheriff in town. Yes, sir.
Well, addressing morale, the other thing that we have, I wasn't going to say it with the sheriff, but my biggest enemy really is administration. It's not the agents. They make it punch you in the face and,
Yeah. We can't hear you.
sorry, I'm kind of hoarse. I was saying the biggest enemy I have isn't the inmates, because they punch you in the face when you commit an incident. It's administration, because the first thing when something serious happens, like a deputy inmate fight, they don't come and ask, are you okay? They come and they want to know what happened and why it happened. What did you do to start this? I mean, that's going to be a big culture change. How are you going to address that?
Well, again, back to the future is what I like to say. And that's where everybody's so paranoid about a doggone lawsuit these days that they forgot about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And what I've always banked on being able to defend that is because should be able to come to you and show that you had all the proper training, equipment, you did everything the way you were taught to do it, and you made it out of that situation with maybe just a bruise. But not immediately take the position of, what did you do wrong because that's going to cause a lawsuit. Hey, if you're afraid of lawsuits, you're in the wrong job. That's a fact, because this job is based on discretion. And it be it the dark alleys or a hallway where a guy decides or a guy gal decides they're going to engage you, you got to have the flexibility and discretion to engage that person. But at the same time, you have to help me, or the supervisors help me, defend you with the proper reports. Not what did I do wrong or this, but this individual came at me this way. Veins protruding from the forehead, slobbering all over the place, attacking. Those things are easy to define in a report. That goes to training, how to write a proper use of force report that protects you and it staves off the liability of the organization. Simple. But if the first thing is to blame the person that had to defend themselves, I don't know. So, that's probably the best answer I could give in that regards. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Mary Jo, and I work in communication. So there's not much room for growth in our division because of placement. They will always keep captain, lieutenant, and at least 2 positions for sworn deputies. So our growth is pretty stable. There's no room for promotion. Would you be open to making it more civilian division?
Well, not knowing exactly your current configuration other than what you just gave me, everything could be looked at. I mean, that's the beauty of being in a higher position. You have the ability to listen to you folks and say, does this make sense?
I mean, it was, our former speaker had said 8 years ago that we would become more civilian, and it never happened. So it is kind of tough for those that are senior or those that are younger that want to build a career and they want to stay in education, and there's no way.
Well, what happened during that transitional period that it didn't occur?
You don't know. They asked, there were promises made, and they were going to do a first civilian lieutenant, and it never happened.
Okay. Well, that's something definitely to put on the table and find out why. There's always a why out there somewhere, and if that why isn't acceptable.
Well, I could give a yes. He wanted his numbers for sworn guys, and it's a perfect place to put them. To keep them, to move them around, to keep them viable, or in a position for them, and for them.
Well, if it doesn't make sense, then we all need to look at it. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Wade Laszlo. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 24 years this month. A lot of us been here 20 plus years. We're longtime employees, we're detention deputies. The change that we've seen, we started under Sheriff Logan. The change we've seen was we went from the jail being a civilian detention deputy division to now being the largest licensed division in the jail. We went from only 39 licensed in the jail to something like 93 in the jail with the decrease in detention staff. Now, Sheriff Stanek claims to be a Republican. He is spending $972,000 a year more to have identical staffing in the jail. We do the same job. We train the licensed guys, and what turns into the part of my friends the bitch for the licensed guys is they don't want to be in the jail. from Omont all the way through McGowan, if a guy got licensed, he started in jail, he did 1 year in the jail, maybe 2, and then they were out, okay? Now what happens is they're stuck in the jail 5 or 6 years, they can't get out, they're frustrated. We're the largest jail in the state of Minnesota. We're the most dangerous jail. We had one deputy got her nose broke today, another deputy broke his arm, another nurse got in the first damn hour of the day. We're the only accredited jail in the state. We're the lowest paid in the metro area. Anybody here right now, I would be making $9 an hour more in Ramsey County if I was working there. $9. We had a person leave our jail. Our detention deputy started at $17.37. One of our clerks went to work for Brooklyn Park for their 10-person jail starting at $22.50 an hour. We can't hire good people. We can't retain good people. The detention deputies are treated like second-class citizens. We're being pushed down by the licensed guys who we train and we love. They're our brothers and our sisters. But they're frustrated because it takes them 6 years to get out of a job they don't want, and we're the lowest paid in our field. And that is unfortunately, Mr. Frizell, if you are fortunate enough to get elected, what you're walking into. Just a heads up.
I see it. I see it.
Okay, here's the other thing. Most of us here are professional, and I use the term corrections officers, okay? We're being given colleagues who are licensed deputies who are not being hired by any other agency, and they're coming to us. They can't be street guys. You wouldn't hire them in Minneapolis. We are hiring them. 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, they realized, well, maybe we need to train these guys as cops. For 3 months, they sent some out to patrol. The failure rate was so high, they stopped that program. So you have a whole bunch of people who are licensed, working in the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, who you would not want next to you walking down for them. You would not want them there. I'm a Hennepin County resident. I pay my taxes. Why am I paying for second-rate small officers who are even in the jail because they can't go out and work on the street, which is what a licensed police officer is supposed to be able to do. Instead of taking people on and training them as cops and then putting them in the jail where we can train them to be jailers, they hire people as jailers. They pay them way more than they pay us. They're not up to being cops, and they hate the job. And they hate the job.
They don't want to be in the jail. A lot of us are more than happy to work in the jail. It's our profession.
Okay, now, is there this is a quick question over there. Do you have a professional development portion of your Hennepin County Sheriff's Office? And what I mean by that?
Yeah, we've got an employee development, which is focused on licensing.
Okay, see, that should be across the board. Because we just started one over in Minneapolis a couple of years ago where we look at professional development and we're able to actually track what the supervisors are talking to, those be sworn officers in this case, every month. Sitting down and going, hey, where you at? Where's your goals? What do you want to do? You know, where do you go next? And it's first the cops, I admit, they bitched about it for about the first 6 months, but then they liked the fact that then they were being adequately evaluated, fairly evaluated. It's 3 levels, take a look at it, and they can go, this is crap. You know, but what it does is it weeds out those that don't need to be there, and it sets your goals and your objectives for where you're supposed to be at this point. If they don't ever get there, then I'm telling you what, it gets glaring. And we all know those folks that have been hiding in the back for years, and that's what they want to do it. But we start shining the light on those people and said, either you're going to step up to the plate or you're going to go sell shoes.
We're only detention deputies, I don't think it was.
Well,